Welcome to the Nicky Hughes Show, the place where we unearth pure gold in everyday stories. I'm Nicky, your host, and each week I bring you compelling conversations with real people that inspire, inform, and connect. Whether we're diving into the dynamic world of business with business briefs, exploring the mindset of champions with sports shorts, or celebrating the unsung heroes in local legends, this is your space for powerful, impactful stories from remarkable individuals. So grab a coffee, settle in, and let's get started. Brian White, welcome.
Nicky, a pleasure.
It's good to have you here. You're white with an I. Whoever said there was no I in white?
No, there's never an I in white, especially when it comes to me anyway, Nicky.
Brilliant. Well, look, you're really welcome. And just to give a little bit of background to this, the Nicky Hughes Show, we focus on a few different things. We focus on business, we focus on sport, and we focus on what I call local legends.
Excellent, yeah.
Local legends are people anywhere in the world where, to the casual observer, they're regular people, in inverted commas.
Yeah.
But when you actually dig into their story, they're actually really extraordinary people. So the role of this is to try and extract the gold that's in everyday stories. And you fall into all three of those categories. You're kind of business focused, you're very much sports focused, and you're also a local legend, if you don't mind me saying so. So
something like that anyway,
yeah. So today we're gonna look at the sports element. I call it sports shorts.
Right? Yeah.
And it's about delving into the mindset of anybody who's involved in sport, anybody who's a sports nut, whether it's a coach or a player or somebody involved in management.
Yeah.
It's about what makes the 1%ers tick. That's really what I'm after, because as we know in the sporting world, you've got 100 teams, and one of those teams will stand out, and I want to know why, right?
Yeah.
And when we talk about 1%ers, you're the very first person that has come to the podcast fully prepared. You've got the iPad, you've got your notes all done out. That's a 1%er in itself, right?
Well, I don't know. That's, I suppose, well, whatever about that, and every person has a different way of operating, but I do like to prepare all right for things, generally speaking. Yeah. But even, whatever about that, the 1%ers, and especially when it comes to sport and football and everything, I suppose, realistically speaking, it's about trying to get the most amount of talent out of that person as possible, and about getting the most amount of talent out of yourself as possible. Because obviously we have, genetic limitations. Everyone has genetic, environmental limitations, but I suppose it's about maxing out that environmental piece, and whatever their ability is about trying to get the most out of themselves.
Right. What do you mean by the environmental piece?
Yeah. So look, we are influenced by our environment incredibly, from when we were born to all the way up to now. So there's a lot of different stakeholders within that environment. And so you have, obviously, you have your parents up to, a certain age, to a certain extent there. You have your teachers, you have your coaches, and we all hear about these stories about, oh, well, that teacher believed in me when I was 8, and now I'm winning golf tournaments or whatever, and also on the flip side, there was this, you hear the stories of that teacher said I was bad at spelling, and I was always bad at spelling. And I suppose that becomes that narrative in their brain and that story that they tell themselves.
Yeah, that's really interesting. If you don't mind me giving a personal example, I remember playing under 10s football, soccer actually, as it was then, back in 1980. And I remember playing this particular match down in the Seafield in Laytown, County Meath. And anybody listening in the States or New Zealand, we're going to give you a little view into Irish culture here. But we was playing by the seaside up in this field, and it was bloody freezing cold.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I remember running my heart out for the whole game, up and down the field, like giving it loads, And my father, God rest him, who was a terrific supporter, but he also had a great habit of hitting you right between the eyes, And I came off at half time, and I was sweating, and thought I was doing great. And he just looked at me and he went, "Nicky, everywhere but nowhere." And I went, oh no. And funny thing that you talk about that has stuck in my brain for my whole life.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it doesn't
yeah,
cause me
yeah,
any
yeah,
issue or
yeah. No,
challenge.
no, no, no,
I don't
no,
need to
no.
go to therapy for, but I hear what you're saying. You know, it's
Yeah.
so important that parents and coaches and family members and supporters are given the right type of
Yeah,
advice,
yeah,
right?
absolutely. And look, and I think that type of story is fantastic as well, and that makes us up, and that makes us, grounded on who we are as well. And I think, what you're saying is, look, it's not, it doesn't cause me any harm, but it's a part of you. And I think that's important. And things will happen over years, and I think it's important for people to allow that, right? That's happened, and allow and come through that, and come through the other end as well.
Yeah,
Because I suppose people can blame other people as well, and I think you have to take and say, right, well, at the end of the day, I'm in control of my own thoughts and all the rest of it that comes along with that. So that's
Yeah, which is easy to say for people in the midst of their sporting career, that I'm in charge of my own thoughts. However, if you're an 8 or 9 or 10-year-old or a 4-year-old,
that's right,
and you're
right.
receiving a certain type of messaging, you
Yeah.
are going to become that person, aren't you?
Absolutely.
More than likely.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they are like a sponge. I have a 2.5-year-old at the minute, and it's an absolute pleasure. But they are it is like a sponge, and even the frequency of their brains and everything. There's a whole different neuroscientific thing. They are like sponges.
Yeah.
Just bring it all in. So even within communication and everything, if you can keep it either encouraging or instructive, that's kind of or questioning. That's the three things. You're either questioning, you're either encouraging, or you're instructive. So, that's the framework that I would work around. I'm definitely I think the questioning is the hard bit, and also the silver, the real silver bullet. I think, there's an art to that, but definitely instructive and encouraging. And we've all been around the sidelines with the lunatics and and all the rest of it, and or the people that have extreme passion.
Yeah.
And I think it's about those people with extreme passion that I suppose have to recognize, am I being helpful, or am I being unhelpful?
Okay, well, look, that's a whole conversation piece that we're going to get to a little bit later on.
Yeah.
That's a classic. So again, just for a little bit of background for those people who are not familiar with our sport and they're not familiar with Ireland, we have a lot of listeners in the US, we have a lot of listeners in New Zealand, we have a lot of listeners in Cambodia, believe it or not.
Great.
And
Great
Nicaragua.
Okay.
So thank you all for supporting. But we are in Ireland, and we're talking about our national sport, which is called Gaelic Games. And in Gaelic Games, there are two codes. We have Gaelic football and we have hurling. Both of those sports are played 15 people aside. And the objective is to either get a very small ball in hurling across the bar for 1 point and into the net for 3 points. And for Gaelic football, it's a much bigger football, like a soccer ball. And the objective, again, is to get the ball over the bar for 1 point and into the net for 3 points. Gaelic Games are a completely voluntary, it's a completely voluntary operation. All the players, all the mentors, all the coaches, they're all operating on a voluntary basis. And it's becoming more professional in nature. And what I mean by that is that the coaches are really schooled up. They're really progressive and forward thinking. All the players are operating at a hugely high standard. So while it being a voluntary organization, we are moving into the professional era in terms of preparation. Now, that's a big long monologue just in terms of explanation. But I've got a really fundamental, basic question for you, Brian. And again, one final point. You are the head coach for the ladies adult football team in St. Patrick's, Stamullen, County Meath, right? Okay. It's your first year in the gig. We're going to get into that in a minute. But I have to ask you a really basic question, right? Why on earth, with all of the pressures and all of the time commitments and all of the abuse sometimes and all of the highs and all of the lows, why on earth was some mad bugger want to get involved in this, and why would you want to be a top tier coach?
Yeah, and I suppose, look, that's a big question in itself. I suppose the way I operate, I suppose any aspect of life, is there's extreme satisfaction in doing something well and to the best of your ability.
Okay.
And I think, that's not if you follow that approach, doing something well and to the best of your ability, whether you're a player, whether you're a coach, whether you're a son or a father or whatever, I think that's why I'm doing it. I think there's also extreme satisfaction. There's nothing easy. Nothing easy is worth doing either. Anything worth doing is not easy. But from a coach's perspective, there's so many rewards within it, and like you have the honor of 25 to 35 young people coming to you 3 times a week. Within St. Patrick's now, we have 44 sessions done now since January.
Wow.
We have, including games and everything, they're coming every night. They're trying to learn. They're trying to improve. They're running their guts out. They're playing their guts out. They're receptive. They're communicating with each other. They're having the crack. They're having the fun. They're chatting, and you're hitting a lot of base human needs within the sport.
Okay. I just want to pick up on one point that you made there. You get motivation from doing the best that you can and getting the most from yourself, right?
Yeah, and others,
And others, yeah.
Yeah.
So does it have to be Gaelic football, or have you brought that philosophy into other parts of your life as well?
Look, now, and I suppose I suppose I would have a kind of I wouldn't say an addictive personality, but I would be enthused by things, a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So like, obviously I'm a sales manager with a agricultural supply company, and that's great. I'm a sheep farmer, so we myself and my wife Aoife, we rent 40 acres and we farm 100 sheep. I'm a sheepdog trainer.
Yeah.
So
wow.
So,
and do you bring the same vigor and the same intent and the same focus to sheepdog trials? That
we've been very lucky where we've sold dogs all over the world.
Oh my God!
So we to UK, America, Australia, Finland, Germany, Netherlands.
So you're big into the whole genetic profile.
Yeah,
you're big into breeding, obviously, so that's another major passion of yours.
Yeah,
right?
A major passion. And now, in fairness, I've had to, since throwing myself into this with Pats, I've had to pull back on that, and especially with Lucy. Lucy is 2.5. So I'm deciding to, maybe that's for later on, and I'm really conscious in really enjoying her childhood, because I suppose you could blink and you'll miss it, sort of thing. So I'm really enjoying the childhood. She's down at the football. She's the number one supporter. Herself and Aoife come to my games, and I go to Aoife's games. So I suppose one of the reasons why I'm down here would be because I just finished up playing football.
Yeah.
And I would have always had an eye on coaching, would have always had a passion for coaching and
why
trying to help. I tell you what. Yeah, and that's an interest. Like, let's say 3 years ago, I would have been playing away, great, and I was playing up to last September. And I was going down, and my wife was playing. She's from Ballyjames up in Cavan. We met in college, blah, blah, blah. We're happily married now, and she knows that I'm a great husband and all the rest of it. For that, as she can testify, I'm an absolutely fantastic husband. But anyway,
I can see the €20 notes. Yeah.
So I'll have to interview her as well.
Yeah, no, I'll get her side of the story.
Yeah. But I was down, and I said, you know what? I says, I'm down here, and we used to train on a Tuesday, Thursday, and play on a Saturday, and in the gym other days and all that sort of thing. And I used to go down on a Wednesday, and she used to play on a Wednesday. And I said, you know what? I'll try and help them. That was so it was coming to the end of the year or something, and I rang up the coach and said, look, do you need any help at all? Do you want me to organise referees or whatever like that, or whatever? And then if you want me to jump in and do a bit of coaching, I can.
This is for the ladies team in a different club.
In my home club, just over the road, literally over the road in Naal, in North County Dublin.
Gotcha.
So I'm living on the border of Meath and Dublin, and my home club is in Naal, and just over the river then you go into the parish and it's St. Patrick's. So
gotcha.
My mother would would have originally lived 40 meters, 50 meters up the road
From this club?
from this club.
No
So
way.
she's a Davit.
Oh my God.
And
okay. Yeah.
yeah,
all right, yeah.
And they originally moved up from Belmullet in the west, in the very most west point of Ireland when she was 3.5.
Wow.
So she moved up to there, and she's literally, so I remember staying at Granny's and walking to the shop when none of the houses were there, when the club was there, when the old school was there. I remember this. I still get the flashbacks.
Yeah, so is your mother a sister of Tony David and,
Yes.
and PJ? Yeah. So
Yeah.
who represented Ireland in boxing, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
So there's good
yeah.
heritage there. Yeah.
Yeah. So Tony's obviously a fantastic coach himself. PJ, Lord mercy of him, he boxed in the Olympics with Barry McGuigan, and
Yes.
he was a pro boxer.
That's
And then Tommy was also a pro
Yes.
boxer. Tommy also scored the winning goal, I believe, in the junior championship for Pats 50 years ago.
In 1975.
I believe so.
Oh, wow.
I believe so. Yeah.
We celebrated the 50th anniversary at our dinner dance
Correct.
in January.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
wow.
I heard. I didn't realize that, and someone told me that actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, so there's, I suppose there's links. There's definitely links there. I think that's important, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and that's how it started, and it didn't actually come. It didn't actually come to fruition when I asked them could I help, and then there was a new management team the next year, and I actually helped. We got a new manager, Joe Green. He's a fantastic coach, and I helped him. So I was kind of assistant manager with him. It was, I suppose, it was a funny situation. I had to tell people, Jesus, you know, I got involved in a ladies' team, and within 4 weeks, one of the players were pregnant.
Yeah. Right.
Therein, my wife.
Oh, no way.
So she actually played. I think she played the first 2 games or something pregnant.
Yeah.
With Lucy.
But that's okay, isn't it? I mean,
well, it was touch and go, but it was look, she's grand, and she doesn't twitch. Lucy doesn't twitch that much or anything else, so she's grand, she's fine. She's a perfectly healthy child.
That's wonderful, yeah.
So
that's a great story.
So yeah, so she was pregnant, and we had no Lucy or whatever. So I was definitely all in that year. You know, I was playing as well, which was tricky. We missed an odd game and different things like that. And then I suppose Lucy came along, and Aoife was coming back to football herself. The last 2 years, I've been helping and doing all the background work. And at the start of the year, I'd be taking, let's say, a session a week, and I'd be, but I suppose I would have been frustrated that I couldn't help them more.
Yeah. Now I just want to dig into a little element of this just for a second. Most people don't go to established teams and ask, can I help? You know, can I work? Can I give more time and commitment? Most people don't do that for a start, right? So that certainly puts you in a certain category. I'm really keen to understand why you wanted to give of your time and efforts and energy. You must have known that coaching was something that you were interested in because why? Because you felt like you had the coaching gene, or you felt like you wanted to help, or you felt like I've got something here to offer? Like, what were the motivations there?
Yeah, I suppose, like, I was seeing patterns of play that I knew if I put them into that situation and we worked on it consistently in practice, that it would happen in a game over time.
Okay. So there was a technical aspect to this as well.
The technical aspect, and, you know, all that sort of thing, I suppose, there's a whole lot of, there's a lot of things involved, obviously, in coaching. But I suppose I always would have been a big observer of coaches.
Okay.
All up along.
Right.
When I was very young, like.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. It was kind of a fascination I had with coaches. And what they were doing. I was always observing what, like, you were saying earlier to me, and I said, how did you get into the podcast and all that? And you were into, you know, radio and talk, and you put yourself in the shoes of the radio host, not the interviewer.
Yes.
Well, you know, I would have put myself in the shoes a lot of the time as the coach or the manager, not necessarily the player.
Yeah.
And and I don't like this is just coming out of me now. I never really reflected on it, but when I do think about it, that's what I would have been, and I would have been fascinated, about the different things, and I would have in the latter days I would have actually found stuff funny that they were doing because it was so mad. So like in the adult career, I think we counted it up. There was 13 coaches in 17 years, 13 managers in 17 years.
Right. And you studied every one of them.
Yeah. So, and then like you have college coaches, you have underage coaches, you have schools coaches.
Yeah.
You have coaches that you interact with.
Yeah.
And, and you learn, it's as important to learn what not to do as what to do.
Yeah.
It's what I found,
And when you were growing up observing these coaches, right, you were obviously observing tactics. You were obviously observing skills. You were observing the way that coaches perhaps interacted with the players. Did you even know that there was such thing as mindset and mental strength and mental coaching at that time? Or is that something that you got to learn about later on?
I think it's always there anyway. Even if we don't know the theory of it, I think it's always there.
Yeah.
You talk about determination, you talk about, playing to the end of a game, you talk about digging deep, you talk about getting a slap and keep on. You learn about, right, I'm marking a guy here, how do I distract him? As in, do you give him a bit of a dunt and try and distract him that he's not thinking about the ball, he's thinking about you.
Yeah.
So you're all, like that psychological end of it is always there anyway.
Yeah.
Even if we don't know it in theory.
Yeah, and were you equally as fascinated with that aspect of sport as you were with the coaching and the skills and the tactics?
Well, see, you look at the 4 pillars of performance. So you have the physical, the technical, the tactical, and the psychological.
Yeah.
So everything I look through everything through that prism.
Yeah. And where did you learn that?
Where did I learn it? I think I picked it up from.
Yeah. Okay.
I heard a term before, be a magpie coach.
Okay.
So what does a magpie do? He takes a bit here and a bit there and a bit there and a bit there, and he throws it all into the pot and then make it your own or make it suit yourself.
Yeah.
I think the worst thing you can do as a coach is copy and paste.
Okay.
As in trying. So like we have access to all these games. We have all access to all these podcasts and all these things, and access to all this information. But the problems we're looking solutions for, as in on the field, we're trying to get solutions. How do we get the ball back off them? Yeah. How do we, when we get the ball, what do we do when we get the ball? We're trying to develop solutions. Those solutions look different in every team.
Right.
And from game to game.
Sure.
And I suppose we can go off a template and we're talking about principles of play, and we're talking about, how do we get them physically right? How do we get them technically right? How do we get them tactically right? How do we get them psychologically tuned in? But at the end of the day, that varies.
Yeah.
And it's all the time because you're dealing with humans that's moving, and there's emotion involved, and there's, so there is the real best coaches. They have perfected the art of that. So
look, I think there's a really important message in here, isn't it? I loved your comment about the cut and paste, because it is true that if you just do the magpie thing and grab pieces of other people's repertoires and apply them to your own team, you will reach a certain level of success or non-success, as the case may be. Your point, if I'm picking it up correctly, is that yes, you do still pick the guts out of other people's MOs, but you make them your own so that you develop your own brand and your own style and your own unique identity as a coach. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly. And like just a simple thing is, look, you might observe, and there's loads of teams playing in St. Patrick's. It's great. There's 288 ladies members in St. Patrick's clubs.
Wow. Yeah.
Girls and ladies.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah. And I'd look, and men's foot, we train beside the men, and I'd look over and say, oh, fuck, that's a good one. And then I'd say to myself, well, what did I do with me? And I'd say, well, for my team, well, I'd close the space a bit, or I'd add a few more players in, or take a few more players away. So there's some of the time there's an embryo of an idea that you might see.
Yeah.
So even I observe, like looking at games, and obviously going to Aoife, my wife's games, and I'm kind of saying, right, maybe they have a problem on the field.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of thinking, so the opposition team is after setting up in a certain way. And then I'm thinking, well, if I was in that situation now on Sunday with St. Patrick's, and I'm kind of like, if we were put into that situation, what would I do in that situation?
Yeah.
So we're then going in and we're saying, right, well, just in case, and we're going through, if we're put into this situation, and then you develop games around that, and putting them into that situation. So you talk about it, you ask about it, you put them into that situation, and then you repeat and repeat
on the training ground.
On the training ground. That's the most important thing. You can talk all you want.
Yeah.
But you have to put them into the scenario. And I suppose there's maybe a thing in coaching now where there's a lot of stopping, and coaches like to make it about themselves some of the time.
Yeah.
And I think keeping breaks really short, minute and a half, 2 minutes, keeping them going, coaching on the spin, coaching on the run.
Yeah.
Do a little bit of that. It really keeps the enjoyment up, keeps the session flowing, keeps going. I think that's, look, that's my approach.
It stops players from getting cold. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing then is very much, it's not about you. Is that fair?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
And I suppose, like when we look at, like I am I'm very lucky to be a part of a management team.
Yes.
So like we have, like I'm a part of it, but we have Maggie, and then we have Aaron, and we have Tommy, and we have Annette, and we have Aoife, and we have Jean, and then we have our mascot Maya, who's Maggie's daughter.
Okay.
So she's down there every night. But like each of those people haven't really, like, Annette is the only one that has a daughter on the team.
Yeah.
So like they're all giving up their time in search of excellence nearly.
Yes.
So like we're all trying our best to pursue this, to pursue them trying to get better. And like I said, I'm only a small part of that.
Yeah, but you assembled the team.
So Ivor's the ladies chairman, and Evelyn is the secretary.
Yes.
And they would have said, look, they would have met me, and we would have discussed around different things. And he says, right, well, I think this is a good fit. I think this person's a good fit. And Ivor would have put that together for me.
Okay.
And then we would have called them all, and we would have had a discussion and see, that works. And then we had a meeting with us all to say why we're here, what are we going to do, and how are we going to do it.
Yes.
So we all agreed that 100%, and we said, right, let's go for it. And then we had a similar meeting with all the players.
Yeah.
But to talk about, like, I'm only a small cog, like, and I kind of, I suppose, around management structures, I suppose the way I visualize it and the way I try and conceptualize it in my own head and to the player's head is that you've kind of three main elements of a successful team. So you have, if we take a road, a bus, and drivers, the road is the club.
Yeah.
So they make sure there's no potholes. They make sure that the road signs are right, that we're being kept right, and maybe they have to be the police sometimes and pull us back, or they make sure we have the pitches and all the rest of it. So they're the road. The management team is the car or the bus. So they make sure that the engine is going right, that the oil is in the car, that the wheels are pumped, the wheels are on, and the wheels are pumped. And then you have the players who are are in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
This has to be a progressive approach. And I think where, like, similar to Lucy, my 2.5-year-old. So at the moment in the field, not on the road, but in the field, you'd have her on my lap. So she sits on my lap in the driver's seat. Can't turn the steering wheel, can't do anything. So that's the start of it. And I suppose like we're 44 sessions in now to St. Patrick's. The first 30 sessions was a lot about me kind of setting the tone, principles of play, the way we want to do things, this sort of thing. Similar to sitting in the driver's seat, right?
Yeah.
So we're getting the taste, getting to experience it, getting all that stuff. Then the last 10, 15, right, they can hold the steering wheel.
Yeah.
And they can start to steer it a bit. So end of every game, we ask them, right, what do we want to continue to do? What do we want to continue to work on? And what do we want to work on for the next 2 weeks before the next game?
Okay.
And we laser focus into that we practice that in. So we don't do training, we have practice. So we practice the physical, we practice the technical, tactical, and the psychological.
Mm-hmm.
So there's psychological elements to our sessions without them even knowing. So we can develop that over time then. So you talk about a player-led team and this mystical thing about a player-led team.
Yeah.
And it's never been explained to me, and I've been grappling with this thing for a long time, and it kind of clicked with me then. I suppose the more experience, like that it is like that, the management team have to make sure the car is right first.
Yes.
And everything is going. Because it can kind of be pushed back on players to say, well, you were meant to be driving it and you're meant to be, but if they haven't got the tools or the guidelines, or the knowledge. So we have an age profile here between 70 and 27, or 17 and, or 16, 17 and 27.
Okay.
Right? So you won't get the same contribution from a 16, 17-year-old as you will a 27-year-old. And even the 27-year-old habits mightn't be great either.
Yeah.
So it's about setting that tone from the start. But I think it's important then to write, now you're on your steering wheel, where are we going to steer this? And then we're going to say, right, well, we'll teach you now how to use the gears. And then can you clutch a bit? And then can you maybe stop and put something into the sat nav? And where are we going to bring it now? So it's about that gradual process of, getting them sitting in the car, making sure everything's ready, right for them.
Yeah.
The road is right, the car is right, the oil is, and then you're saying, right, here's the tools to drive the car.
And are you heading down the road, to use the analogy, of having the players drive the bus themselves? Do you even want to be on the bus when they're driving it? Or is that the ultimate player-led?
I'm never
scenario?
on the bus. I'm just the engine.
Okay.
I'm just the engine, and I'm revving. I have to rev.
Yeah.
And I have to take over the bus sometimes.
Yeah.
So like Kit,
Oh yeah. in what's it called? Showing our age now. But
Yeah.
Knight Rider. Yeah.
Knight Rider.
Yeah.
Like Knight Rider, I have to take over the bus sometimes.
Yeah. Okay.
And say, come on, girls, we have to. You're after crashing the car, or you're after bumping the car here. Come on, we have to. And that's fine too.
Get back in the bus, yeah.
So
real quick, I want you to think of 3 words, okay? I'm gonna say something, and you have to pick the first 3 words that come into your head, when you think about this word or phrase that I'm going to say, right?
Feck arse drink.
So, yeah. So, what are the 3 things that come to your mind when I say the phrase management team? Go. Don't think about it.
Really good people.
Yeah, good people. Yeah. Next.
Good people. Task orientated.
Task orientated. Yeah. What else?
Good with players.
Good with players. So good interpersonal skills. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So good people first of all. Task oriented people, meaning people get shit done.
Yep.
And people who are able to communicate well. They're the 3 most important things in your mind when it comes to the qualities of a management team. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
very good.
Yeah,
very good.
Yeah.
I want to change tack a little bit, Brian, if I can, just for a second. So you mentioned that there were 288 female players in St. Pat's club here in Stamullen, which is huge by any standards for a voluntary organisation.
Yeah.
Now I don't even know. I think it's about 600 or 500 male players.
360.
360. Okay.
Yeah.
So altogether about
64.
600 players, whatever. That's pretty big club. I was away, as you know, for a long time. I was away in New Zealand for 15 years, and I kind of lived a solitary life, just kind of discovering the world and
excellent,
and building a different kind of a life with different friends and different social outlets and so on.
Yeah.
So I kind of forgot about Ireland. To be honest, I did forget about Ireland, and the football and the football club was a huge part of my life up until I went to New Zealand. Then I forgot about it for 15 years. But when I came back, in actual fact, New Zealand being so isolated geographically from the rest of the world, I actually forgot about the rest of the world for 15 years, which was liberating in one way, but I did. And so what that meant that when I came back in 2018 and I got back involved in the football world and the football club, and the thing that I noticed most was the rise of female sports.
Okay.
Right? So the big thing that was happening all around the world was the rise in popularity of female sports.
Yeah.
Soccer being one of them, basketball, netball, all the, like, tennis was becoming huge again, because I think people had a certain fatigue with the male tennis game, so they looked at the Serenas and so on of this world as a new outlet for their interests, so the same thing happened with female ladies GAA. When I went away, ladies GAA was not a big thing. It is now absolutely huge in this country. So talk to me about your observations of that movement. Why do you think that is? Female sports and female ladies GAA is becoming so popular, and what is the net effect for villages, communities, towns, and the national scene?
Yeah, look, the Gaelic Athletic Association is a fantastic association. Like in every village, in every town in Ireland, it's there.
Yeah.
And I think, it is more than football. It's community, it's friendships, it's lifelong learning and lifelong participation. It's all that sort of thing. From an LGFA perspective, I suppose, look, football is football to me. Gaelic football is football to me, whether girls are playing it or women are playing it or men are playing it. And I suppose I would have got involved because it was on opposite days. Opposite days.
Okay,
so in Dublin, the men play on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and the women play on Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Okay. Yep.
So that's how I got involved in the whole coaching thing and everything. But from an LGFA perspective, like they just celebrated 50-year anniversary. So the Ladies Gaelic Football Association is the kind of the let's say association for the ladies, and it's not women's. So there was a vote. I was going to ask you about this. Yeah, there was a vote last. There was a motion to make it women's.
Yeah,
and they didn't. They voted it down to keep ladies.
So it's ladies, right?
Ladies football, and it's interesting. And look, it's interesting. That's a kind of I suppose, like, they just like the name ladies, and it's traditional and all the rest of it.
Well, I think there's a global context as well, because it's ladies golf, isn't it? Is it ladies tennis or women's tennis? I can't remember.
It's women's, all the sports now, teams are women's soccer and women's women's hockey and all. But anyway,
so we're a bit different.
That's fine. Yeah. But like, it was 1974. It was the association.
Yeah.
So it's relatively new. When you think of like the Gaelic Athletic Association, the men's, which is 1884, I think is it?
1884.
Yeah. So like, there's the guts of 100 years there in the difference. You know, and look, I think it's in line with I suppose the empowerment of women in all areas of life from that 1974 period to now. I think the developments in general, around equality and all that sort of thing. Yeah. I think that's the development of the LGFA is only a symbol of that, along with resources. Like, I know Lidl have been fantastic around the LGFA in Dublin, and in general, and
as a sponsor, of course,
and better coaching. So as better coaches get involved in ladies football, the quality increases, participation increases. And
Is that why ladies are flocking to the game? Like from a young age, I mean, I'm talking about from 5 and 6 years old. Ladies are coming flocking.
Yeah.
Girls and ladies are coming flocking to the game. Is that one of the main reasons that they see a good professional coaching environment emerging here, and they feel safe in this environment?
Yeah, look, there's good coaches and okay coaches, and I think if you get a lot of good coaches involved, that will keep them involved, you know. And if they feel they're getting their needs met around improvement, around fitness, around friendships, around fun, around being challenged, around learning about themselves and becoming better people, they'll keep coming back.
Right.
You know?
Whether you're a boy or a girl.
Whether you're a boy or a girl. Yeah. And I think it's a lot more than just football. It's much more than football. And you ask any player and you really get into why they're playing, the winning element is down the list.
Right.
Now,
right. That's a very contentious thing to say.
No, but I will caveat that to say victory is confirmation you're doing the thing right.
Yeah.
And it's very important. And there's a sense of
that's good.
There's a sense of satisfaction in victory.
Yeah. Victory is confirmation that you're doing things right. It doesn't. That's a really interesting concept. Because
and if you're undergraded, so if you're playing at too low division and you're winning games, you're probably missing a lot of coaching points as well. So it's not the be all and end all. So your performances and your development of players might still be low, even if you're winning.
Yeah, right. So now I said it was contentious, and it is contentious because if you go into an adult setup, an adult team environment, and you say to the team, or you or anybody else says to the team, "Hey guys, or gals, it's actually not about the winning here. It's about development. It's about every time you step over the white line, you're making progress, right?"
Yeah.
Some members of those teams are going to say to you, Brian, it is all about winning. We're here to bring home the silverware at the end of the year, whether you like it or not. So why don't we just cut the crap and say that? What do you say to players?
I don't say anything.
Right.
So we all sat down to start of the year and we set out, why we're here and what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. So I suppose I was the how to a certain extent. So I guided that, I suppose, because I think I have the skill set to guide that at the start, talking about the first 40 sessions, or 44, we have 44 in, but the first 30 sessions per sec, what's the structure? What are we going to do? All that sort of thing. We have absolute clear tunnel vision goals on what we're going to win within the group.
Yeah.
And that is a driving force for us. But that's an outcome goal. So around goal setting, you have three major factors. So you have an outcome goal, you have performance goals, so which is, principle play, what are we trying to do? And then you have process goals. What are we going to do, day in, day out
to
improve? So you can get distracted by winning and the emotional ups and downs of winning and losing. So I suppose it's about really going after that, endorphin hit of victory and winning and using that then. But I suppose it's about saying, right, well, if we lose, well, everything isn't. It's not the end of the world. We still have the same process, whether we win or lose. What are we going to work on for the next 2 weeks? What are we going to improve on the next 2 weeks? So, there's an All-Ireland Championship at the end of this campaign. One team will win that. Look at all the other teams that won't. And but if I've been involved as a player where you go through years and seasons of you're working on just winning or this perceived act of winning, but not necessarily working on principles of play that's building up to the ultimate win over time.
Okay,
so I think they can all work in tandem together.
Yeah, so if I'm interpreting what you're saying correctly, if you're putting the building blocks in place all the way through, and if you are developing the skills and the processes and the tactics and the mental agility and all of that stuff, if you're doing that successfully, winning will become a natural outcome of all of that work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah. And
so
I think it's
point,
important.
So the point is that as an individual and as players, I'm focused on the process of getting better rather than being distracted by the focus of winning.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
The focus on getting better is the key focus. And it's a key need for humans, is to get a little bit better every time. And if they feel they're getting better, even I've seen it before, if a team is losing and they feel they're getting a little bit better, when they do get victory, then bang,
Yeah, you're away, and then you're on a roll. Yeah,
and then you're on a roll, and then you have momentum. But I think that is the key thing. And you're as I said, it's. I think if COVID has taught us anything, it's about a lot more than the winning and losing and leagues. And like I would class myself as a failed footballer.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I've won bloody Division 4 in Dublin 4 times, which is a bad thing in my eyes because we got relegated bloody 3 times.
Yeah.
And it was these ups and downs. And thing is, and I suppose I had to consolidate to say, look, you've all this, emotional garbage going on and after games and all that. You kind of, you need to focus just on getting better. That's would have been my eyes. And when I switched that in my own mind, it made my playing career a lot more enjoyable as a result. So I was focused and I trained bloody 5 times a week and I was 100% on improving myself. But when you get a loss, fucking lads, and they won't train then for a few days and you get all that sort of thing,
Yeah, yeah.
So it's about coming through that.
Yeah.
You know.
Brian, you sound like you are very organized in your mind. You sound like you know where you're going. You sound like you've got a plan and a strategy. You sound like your coaching philosophy is quite honed and well developed. Right now, whether that is the case or not, it certainly comes across that way, and I'm sure you have your own challenges in your mind, right? Where do you see yourself as a coach? This is your first time being in the lead coach position.
Yeah.
So where do you see, in terms of your coaching philosophy and your coaching expertise, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being just starting, 10 being, pretty much the Mick O'Dwyer's or the Sean Boylans, or a very well honed coach? Where do you see yourself on your journey right now?
I don't know, because I don't know where 10 is. And I think
so. It's infinite.
And so for me, there's no such thing as 10. So it just keeps going on and going on and going on and going on and going on. And it's about the challenges that we see. So you obviously see in the men's game now where they've new rules. And I said to Aoife the other day, Aoife, like, I don't know. I actually don't know where I'm observing new rules, and I'm sure 99% of the coaches of the men's game now are like this as well. And I said, I don't know how I'd construct my game model. Now, I think 80% of what I'm doing now, I would still stay the same. I think they're actually going too extreme a lot of the time. They're nearly playing to the rules rather than keeping with the base principles of play and all that sort of thing. I think they're going too far, and I'm seeing that. But the thing is infinite, 100%. And the around, around where I'm going and all that sort of thing. Like I put the same preparation. Like I had mothers and others. So I did the mothers and others session on Wednesday.
Which is another hugely fast growing aspect of the GA.
Yeah. So we taught. So just for context. So the last few years, the GA brought this out initiative for mothers and others. So like mothers, let's say, that would have children going to the game stuff, to make them included. They start once a week and they have non-competitive competitions. Well, non-competitive activities or games, right? And they train, and they invite the first team coaches and different coaches around to do it. So I did it on Wednesday, but I still prepped. So I sent them out a planning. The planning. I send out a session plan before the games and per minute and all the rest of it, and breaks and all that sort of thing. And I sent it out to them. I think they're a bit scared now, but we had a bloody great session.
Yeah.
And I thoroughly enjoyed it,
Yeah.
And like for me, that's where it's at.
Yeah.
As in, you just do as best as you can with the players that's in front of you at that stage and at that time. So like they have, obviously a lot of them haven't played football before. They're new to the sport. They're completely different. So, they have challenges around skill set and the technical ability and all that. So we put in different exercises to do that.
Yeah.
And games and enjoyment and fun, and you can disguise a lot of technical stuff as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that would be my with regard to ambition. I just think, me personally, I'm just trying to help the people that's in front of me.
Yeah, and if you were to continue on your development as a coach, which it sounds like you absolutely want to do that, is there a particular aspect of your development that you want to work on at this time or over the next year or 2 years? Is it on any of the 4 pillars: the physicality, the tactical, the mental, and the whatever the other one was?
Technical.
Yeah. So is there an aspect of your coaching expertise that you want to focus on, and where do you go to get that training and development?
Like, I'm doing that every night. So you do a review. Yeah. So we obviously I'm guided now by the players. So after the game, what do you want? What do you continue to do? What do we want to continue to work on? And what do we want to work on for the next 2 weeks?
Yeah.
So it's a 2-week break at the minute. It will go to 1-week breaks, but it's 2-week breaks at the minute. So what do we want to work on? And obviously I'll put in, that's maybe 75% of it, and then I'll put in obviously my bits as well.
Yeah.
But I'll plan out those sessions, and we'll execute this. We'll do the sessions, and then I'll be coming home and says, how did that work? Or how did that work? Did that work well? What worked well? Could we do a little bit different? How do we do physically? How do we do technically? How do we do tactically? There's a little pattern of play, that I'm just not happy with. Can we do that? You talk about this, whereas 10, I think it's a continuous thing with the players you're dealing with.
Yeah.
So there's habits built over time. There's really good things. So like Martin and Lisa, like I'm only carrying on what they've done. Like they've put a foundation for 7 or 8 years. So Martin and Lisa would have been, they would have set up the team here, and would have, they would have been absolutely. Martin now is a joint manager on the men's first team, but like I'm only trying to foster their foundation and their, and trying to say, right, obviously I have ideas around, but I'm trying to continue on the development that they had with the team.
Yeah.
But I think there's stuff emerging now. I'm getting to know the players. I'm getting to know the name. Like even bring it back to the challenges.
Yeah.
Like,
what's the biggest challenge?
Like, but even like just bringing in just getting to know 45 different players. Like,
yeah, because you have to. Like, you see some coaches coming in who don't know the players' names halfway into the season. You sound like a fella that's going to know all the players' names at the very start of the season, are you?
Well, that was a kind of it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
Just trying to, and Martin was brilliant at the start. So I was on to Martin every day nearly. Who's this one? Where does she play? What does she play? What do you do? And now I would have taken that into account, And then I would have said, for me, with the players we have available now, maybe I'll try her here. Maybe I'll try her here. That skill set, that sort of way. So I'm gathering up all the information. I listen to everyone, but I suppose I'll still I'll still have my own idea of where I think players can go and where but just learning that, right? So you're learning the names that you can kind of coach and you can say, well done. You can be encouragement, you can instruction. When you can learn the names, you can go bang, yeah, you're flying, that all that sort of thing. Just around, pitch availability, all that sort of thing has been the chat, trying to think of solutions on the hop. So you would have a whole session planned out, and then bang, there's frost.
Yeah.
Or there's, which was a case, or there's, it's rained off, or there's not a pitch available, and you're trying to think of solutions all the time. So as a coach, you're just fully solution orientated, and it's about trying to keep as level as you can to just say, right, what's the solution? Let's go for this. Did that work? Can we bring it?
Yeah.
Do we either continue that on, or do we go a different route?
And closing the loop on something that we talked about earlier at the very start, how do you deal with what we affectionately call here in Ireland as the hurler on the ditch, right? So how do you deal with the over-passionate supporter, the intrusive parent, the parent who wants their child to play regardless of ability?
Yeah.
The parent or the sibling who is giving you crap after the game because you didn't play their daughter. How do you deal with all that?
Look, I think I don't mind that sort of thing. I my uncle Kevin, he was an old bachelor man, but he used to have a saying, "Oh, sure, he's just mad." Like this.
I just dismiss him as mad. Yeah.
There are people like that, but coming to that, right? And it disregards the players or everything. I suppose I have around team selection, all that sort of thing. I have like an individual bank account with every player.
Oh, that's
right?
Interesting. Yeah.
So I am they're registering credits with me, so they go to training.
Is this your thinking about it? Have you?
Yeah.
You are truly a madman. I love it. I absolutely love it. Go on.
You're not the first one to say that.
This is absolute sporting gold. Go on. You've got an individual bank account. That's
it's a thing you grapple with. So every manager says, what do you do with the star player is a bad trainer or whatever like that, right? So it's about balancing up ability with effort. So you're looking to get the best 15 players onto the field. But if your best player is not putting in the effort and they're still getting played every game, well, that's going to bring down your total. But do you need that big player? So it's about weighing up, right, how many credits. So coming back to the individual credits. So they go to training, that's a credit, right?
Yeah.
They speak nice to their friends, let's say, and they mix well with the group, right? That's a credit. I'm observing all this. They put in, they're doing the runs and they never stop. They keep going, right? That's a credit registered in my brain. They get the ball and they can solo off the right and solo off the left, right? That's a credit. Their positioning is good. They can drop back in right time. Tactically, that's a credit. They can tackle well. That's if they don't, and then the opposite then, right? Well, if they're not going to train, why are they not going to train? Is it because of work? Right, that's understandable. Are they doing a replacement session for that? Right, well, that's you're at neutral. Did they not just turn up and go on the beer? Right, that's a negative. Did they have the opportunity to train with you and go to another team or go to something else? Well, that's a negative. So you're working on these things, and it's about, that's a moving feast. And if a player comes to me and goes, look, why am I not being played? Or, well, I can run them around the pillars of performance.
Yes.
And firstly, I'll say, rate yourself. And then I'll say, well, maybe you can work on this and work on this, work on this and work on this. And the same with if a parent or anyone wants to talk to me or someone wants to talk to me, I am an open book on that, because I suppose I'm confident in my own ability to judge each player. And I suppose coming in from the outside, there is no biases towards anyone.
Yeah.
Good or bad.
Yeah. So I think some of these players have joint bank accounts with you, right? So some of these players are not acting on their own. Some of them are acting with the support and assistance of an overzealous parent,
Yeah.
right? So that's an interesting scenario as a manager, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Do you have a specific tactic for dealing with that or not?
Well, see, I'm an adult team, so I'm an adult manager, so I'm not necessarily. So an underage coach would have to deal with parents all the
More
time.
than that, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I would be very much of the opinion that if a player wants to speak to me, they can reach out, online, or they can put on their big boy pants and
come and talk to
you. Because I'm very open, and we have slots in training where we can talk about that. But that's that kind of I think that's important around the credit system, and equally, which a lot of coaches don't or miss. You have a bank account with them.
Yeah, right. That's a good point.
So there's,
because their perception of you is really a large part of how they're going to perform.
Yeah. So you have to, every night, I need to perform.
Yes.
So if I'm getting on to them, and I'm quite demanding as a coach, and I think you have to be a little bit. You have to get the balance right.
Yeah.
But I'm demanding on them. I'm demanding that they get the best out of themselves.
Yeah.
So it's only understanding that it has to go both ways. So I have to perform. I have to be organised. I have to have the session right. I have to have the games made up.
Yes.
To develop them. They're turning up for an hour and 45 minutes of their time.
Yep.
And they're doing the extras. We have a Strava account where they're putting in their extra gym classes, and they're putting in their extra, all that sort of thing. And I can see that.
It's all been recorded.
It's all been recorded, and the attendance is recorded and all that sort of thing. So they're putting in the work. I need to put in the work.
Yeah.
So I'm going into opposition analysis, and I'm trying to pick the other team apart and all that. So I'm putting in credits with them every night as well, which is important. And that's the thing with coaches. The players ousted me or whatever. But obviously, the coaches didn't put enough credits in the account.
Yeah. Brilliant. Two quick fire questions.
Yeah.
What does success look like to you, for you and the group, for this calendar year 2025? Give me three things that would, when you're sitting down at the end of the year, you'll be able to say, yes, that was a successful year because XYZ.
Yeah. Did we develop physically, technically, tactically, psychologically?
And you'll have actual metrics that you.
And did we develop that to the max with the players we had on that year?
And you'll have data and statistics to be able to measure that by.
Yeah, mostly, yeah.
Okay,
mostly good. Anyway. But we'll know and we'll see it. We'll know, and I've been watching this team for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So
in preparation for this role, kind of.
Yeah. I was intrigued with the team.
Yeah.
So I used to come down and watch them and stuff. So
even though you had no involvement with the club?
No involvement with the club or with the team at all. I've just been intrigued with them. I do know what level they have been playing at. Yeah. And having had them now, I know what their potential is. And there's no limit to that potential. With the players we have coming, with the work that's been done at underage, and with the players we have at our disposal, I think if they apply themselves in the right way, there is no limit to the potential the team has.
Okay, give me one other data point which will signify
the ultimate aim is for this club to become a senior club in the next 5 years.
Okay. And you'll know at the end of the year whether you're on the right road or not.
Yeah. So like you'll have you'll have a couple of years where most of the players will be available to you through injury or whatever else. And that's the years you make hay, whether that's this year or next year or the year after. Now, whether I'm lucky to be involved with the group is another thing. But I think that's where the club has to be aiming.
Yeah.
And that's men and women.
Yes.
I think the artillery is there to become a senior club across the board.
Yes.
And it's like a snowball then. So then, you're underage, you have to raise to that level. So, like, I've seen teams in the first 10, 15 minutes and the team realises, oh, we're actually a little bit better than them. We're not going to apply ourselves. And then I've seen teams that maybe first 5 or 10 minutes, it's a really high pitch pace. And then they go, right, and they rise to that level. So, like, I think you put this team into a higher division, 2 higher divisions maybe, I think they'll rise to that challenge. And then they have to, because they're seeing it, they have to train that bit harder. They have to get better at the skill set. They have to get better technically, tactically, all the rest of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think with the players we have at our disposal, we have the ability to rise to that level.
I've got to go because I've got to take my my 10-year-old to a match. But I have one last question for you.
Yep.
And it's kind of a closing tradition on this show, right? And I'm really, I've got my own opinion on this. I've got my own very strong opinion on this, but I'll see what you say. What's your superpower?
Oh. What's my superpower? I think I can lock on to things, and I can lock on, and I've dogged determination to follow through. I'll just keep going and going and going and going. And I think that's probably, so if I lock on to something, which I have in Pats, I'll just keep relentlessly going until I am satisfied that we've got the potential. So talk about the bank account, I'll keep putting credits in the bank every day, whether that be around planning, because it's a 7-day thing. Like you talk about amateur thing, it's a kind of a relentless pursuit of that kind of excellence, and that kind of improvement. But definitely, locking on to being a husband, locking on to being a son, locking on to being a father,
sheepdog,
sheep
farmer.
And one of the things, I suppose, and it would have been, there's a great man, Richard Shanahan.
Yeah.
And he's a sports psychologist.
Yeah.
And I would have, he's now a friend, and I remember I would have had I would have worked with him a bit, and I would have had the weekly planner. So I would have had every minute planned out for my week.
Yeah.
And, he looks at me, he goes, Cork accent, and he says, Brian, now, he says, do you think you're spreading yourself a bit thin?
Yeah. Yeah. Great.
And I suppose that's the thing as well. And something does have to give.
You're managing that as well.
And I think that's if we have 3 balls, family and work are made of glass.
Yes.
So if you drop them, they break. And football and other interests are made of rubber.
Yeah.
But in saying that, there is great satisfaction really getting the most out of that rubber ball as well, and really going after that and getting that back. And look, I'm very lucky. I have a very understanding wife. Like she trains on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then I'm gone Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday or something, but we've a great life, and we're, I remember there was a lad I used to work with, and Rodney Milliken was his name, which I used to be in Northern Ireland for a few years. And he says, Jesus Christ, White, he said, if you dropped into the Liffey, you come out with a salmon in your mouth. So I think, even within these roles and everything, the club has been very welcoming and all the rest of it, but definitely coming out with a few salmons now.
Well, I think having listened to you and having got inside your brain for whatever time this has been, it's gone like a shot, by the way.
Yeah, it has. So very enjoyable.
So interesting and enjoyable and educational. I've only got one thing in my mind. I hope Richard Shanahan listens to this podcast, because I have a feeling that he'll probably learn more from this podcast than you could possibly learn from him. So look, I'm in awe of what you do. And I'm in awe of all the people of your kind that put in so much time and effort into this great association that we have. I was going to argue that and you don't have to answer this, but your superpower in my mind, one of your superpowers is in preparation and planning. You seem to put a huge amount of time and headspace and focus into planning, so that when you come to the execution part, it all generally goes according to plan. As they say, the old horrible corporate phrase, piss poor planning means piss poor performance. In your case, it's the complete opposite. And I got to say, Brian, it was a really great, enjoyable session with you this morning. And I can't wait at the end of this year to check in with you, see how the team has gone, and also to keep track on your trajectory as a coach. I think you're going to the stars. So well done.
And it's been a pleasure as well. I honestly never, ever thought I'd be on a podcast.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
And it just, I think we had a chat about it, and he says, it could be a reference for a few years' time or whatever. And I think it's a great experience. And I'd like to thank you for just having a chat. And, and I think I love talking about coaching.
Oh, clearly,
and I love getting in.
Yeah.
And I think it is, I do, it's a subject I'm very passionate about, and helping people become better. So it's great to be able to chat to you about that.
Good on you, Brian.
Thanks very much, Nicky.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
See you. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Nicky Hughes Show. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please subscribe, leave a review, and share the show with your friends. It really helps us to grow and reach more amazing people like you. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to connect with us on social media or visit our website at nickyhughes.com. You can also follow the show's updates and get in touch with today's guest through our socials. Make sure to join us next week, where we'll be getting to know another legend from the world of business. Until then, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep uncovering the gold in everyday stories.